Because this is directly from the reading material, we consider this as a very simple question. Now, students are able to find the answer either looking at the reference books or through the student manual, which is available in the LMS, or by referring the e-learning material. So, because it is directly from the text, we consider it as a very simple question.
So, if you remember the relevant content in the learning materials, so this will be some sort of a memory check. So, can we see what are the answers for this particular question?
Yes, let's look at each option one by one. So, the first one is timeliness. So, valuable information should be made at the proper time. If you don't have information at the proper time, that means decision making is delayed. Therefore, it is important to produce information at the correct time. Similarly, if you look at complex. Now, if information was complex, what happens is it is difficult to make the decisions, because as long as it is simple, it is easy to interpret the information, and therefore the decision making becomes very easy. So, the fourth one is reliable. Now, reliability is also very important quality of information. The reliability of information basically depends on two things. One can be the data entry method, or else the other can be the source of information. Where are we going to get this information from? So, reliability is very critical. If the data is not reliable, the information we produce from the information system is not going to be reliable either. Finally, it is also important to the information to be economical. If you are going to spend a lot of money on something of not worth very much, then we are going to lose out. So, therefore, economical thing is also very important. Therefore, looking at this question, the answers are A, C, D and E. Now, when the information is complex, I mentioned to you, it is a disadvantage. So, it is not a valuable characteristic.
Okay. So, there are 4 answers. So, students are expected to answer all these 4 questions. If they answer only a part of that, they will get only a portion of the marks allocated for this question. So, again, if you mark the wrong answers, then probably, now let's say for example, if you try all these options, the final mark will be 0. But if you marked depending on the combinations, that the relevant score will be calculated. Now let's go to another question, which seems to be a little bit different compared to the earlier question. That seems to be related to the topic 2, information systems in organization and competing with IT.
That's right. Now, when you look at this question, it is quite a detailed question. Now, let's go through it. Depending on the goals of the organization and its approach to management, a number of organizational structures can be used to manage its work and people. So, that sentence alone gives the sort of background as to what we are going to talk about. So, it is going to be about organizational structures. So, then the project-based organization is one structure. So, out of organizational structures, one is project-based organization structure. There are others we have discussed in the reference material and the student manual as well about hierarchical structure and so many others. So, which of the following is correct regarding project organizational structure? So, that is the question. So, here we are only focusing on the project organizational structure.
So, those 2 sentences seems to be giving us some information about the background information about the question.
That's right. And then we have sentences here from A to E. These are the choices. They can be answer. There can be one or more answers, as you mentioned earlier on, and they are quite lengthy ones. So, students have to sort of read it and take some time to understand it.
So it seems to be, I mean, compared to the previous question where you can read it in half a minute, I mean, just looking at you get the whole question. But here you need some more time to read and understand the question. And this seems to be also related to a learning objective that's defined in the syllabus.
That's right. If you look at the learning objectives, in topic 2 we have mentioned students should be able to provide a clear definition of the term organizational structure. So that means they have to know what type of organizational structures are there also. So as we mentioned earlier on, it goes beyond testing the knowledge, and students have to clearly apply their knowledge to this question. For example, statements like B and E cannot be directly found in the text, but we require the students to apply the knowledge gained through reading the reference material.
See, so it takes time, and also you need to think a little bit more about these statements, the choices. Then only you can decide which ones are correct and which ones are wrong. So with respect to the answer, could you please say about anything about the answer in a short form?
Let's look at the choices. Now the question was what is correct about project organizational structures. Now here there are 5 answers. We have to pick the correct one. Project organizational structure has a clear authority since the project manager also belongs to the same product or service area as the other members. Typically, a project organizational structure comes up within a team where they belong to the same product or service areas. For example, if you look at a manufacturing organization who is developing, let's say, fax machines and then printers and several other products, if you take the group that is manufacturing fax machines, now if we want to improve the design of the fax machine, we will select some members from the group who is in the fax machine manufacturing area, and then out of that only we will select a project manager and so forth. So they all belong to the same area. So the second one is project organization has a clear focus, since everyone on the team has only the project as his or her primary responsibility. So that is also correct, because their primary responsibility is about the project, how to complete it. And project organizational structure may duplicate resources on different projects. If you look at this statement, now what is resources means, now each project will have a financial manager, marketing manager, like that, different functional area people. So therefore, if you have different projects, each project will have the same type of functional managers. Therefore, it can be a duplication of resources. So that is also a correct answer. Then the fourth one, D. A project organizational structure forms traditional functions within the project team. So as I mentioned to you earlier on, there are traditional functions. For example, marketing is there, accounting manager is there. So there are traditional functions within the project team itself. Therefore, that is also a correct